Thank you, folks. Good afternoon. Welcome to the new Cori Code. I think we set that off this morning with KTX, and we've created a global wave. So a knowledge session after lunch is the worst icebreaker. So I hope that what I'm going to talk about today is going to keep you up and excite you to an extent that you can look at many of these initiatives if you're businessmen, brand owners, CEOs, CXOs. Look at how you can engage futuristic technologies to create exciting journeys for your business, for your brand, and for your customer experience. So that's my topic today, and I'm going to focus on three core words. One is, how do you imagine? How do you create? And how do you impress? I think we are all out as businesses, as brands, as organizations to do these three things. But then how do you do it? And how do you do it when you are investing in a space to create an experience center for your organization, for your business, or you're creating an executive briefing center? How do you go about these tactics, and how do you achieve success is what I'm trying to walk you down this afternoon. I'll be taking you on a journey. I hope you like time travel. I'm going to take you back in time and then take you back to the future as well. So there's going to be a lot of videos. There's going to be a lot of creative imagination at play. So with that, let me get started. So we are starting with imagination. How do we imagine concepts, ideas that can make your business and your brand work smarter, better, and achieve those set out results and goals that you want? So I start with a very interesting quote from a very interesting filmmaker, Stanley Kubrick, one of America's greatest filmmakers. And I don't know how many of you all have watched 2001, A Space Odyssey. Has anyone seen 2001, A Space Odyssey? The movie? Yes, no, some hands? Yes. Also, if you've not watched the movie, has anyone read Arthur C. Clarke's Sentinel? No. Okay, you're going to make my session a little more difficult, but I'll try and transgress that through a story. So I'm going to introduce you to one of the greatest science fiction movies ever created in this world. And it was created in 1968. Please mark the date, 1968. So we are going to go back to 1968, and I'm going to play out three scenes from a film called 2001, A Space Odyssey. It will demand a little bit of patience, but then please look at it, because I'm going to connect that story to the rest of what we're going to talk about this afternoon. Okay, that was the first sequence. I hope you saw the first sequence. It was an object, and you have a certain number of apes running around that object. This is the second part of that sequence. Okay, so this was if you watch the movie, and I would encourage you to watch the movie, it has three distinct parts. The part one is prehistoric, you saw it. The part two is in space, you saw it. The third part of the film is this. So three parts of the film. This is incidentally the last part of the film. And to people who watch the movie, the interpretation of this part of the film has always been a mystery, because it talks about a concept and an idea which is far beyond imagination. So let me go ahead and take you to the whole thought process. So everything that we create, we imagine, comes with a great idea. So I did show you three sequences. I'm going to connect those three sequences back to you and tell you how great the idea was. And when you have a great idea, a beautiful story will follow. And your search for a beautiful design, which is interactive, which is expressive, will be the quest. and technology becomes the enabler to make that experience come alive. So we believe everything starts with a great idea. And taking you back.
As happens in so many myths of all cultures in the world, he is transformed into some kind of super being and sent back to Earth. Transformed and made, into some sort of Superman. And we have to only guess what happens when he goes back. It is the pattern of a great deal of mythology, and that was what we were trying to suggest.
That was Stanley Kubrick speaking to you, and his interpretation of the story. So the idea was to create consciousness far beyond the time, which was 1968, to create a path for innovation far beyond the time which you would notice. And the story was built on a central idea that everybody in this world believes in. The idea of cyclic evolution, of rebirth, of getting connected to things beyond our existence. And that was the central idea of the story. Moving on from there, you saw this object, and a very interesting object. The object was visualized by Arthur C. Clarke in his short story called Sentinel, which was adapted by Stanley Kubrick. And the monolith that you see here was an alien monolith. In the first sequence, you saw the hominins exploring this monolith. But when you see the movie, you would notice that it actually creates a higher level of subconsciousness in the monolith, through the monolith. And the apes that you saw primarily get into a higher level of subconsciousness driven by the monolith and find and seek water. And then next, they find a carcass and they smash the bone and they use it as an instrument. So that's the first level of consciousness that primarily Kubrick talks about as an experience in the idea of design. And the design was a 14-feet monolith which was built because this was in 1968, far beyond the time of computer graphics. So they could not create the whole movie that you see is so futuristic because it talks about space travel, about space exploration. In 68, when the race for the space started, first man went in 69. But the race was between US and Russia, and that was the inspiration for him to write this movie. So the monolith was built as a 13-feet structure in glass, and they realized that glass is a reflector. So they could not work with the design of glass, so they had to actually matte finish it in black. So that's how the monolith got the black appearance in the film. And you see three sequences. One is on Earth with the ape discovering higher subconsciousness. And the second one is on the moon. And before man went on the moon in 69. He put him there in 68. And there's this alarm that is created by the same monolith in an alienistic fashion, which typically drives them away from moon. And the third sequence is the last sequence that Kubrick explained to you as well, about the cyclic transgression of life. And in the last sequence, which you see there, it's a gateway portal that connects you to a higher universe or a higher spiritual existence. So this was the design that Kubrick used. So there was a great idea. There was a beautiful story. There was a fantastic design element which created intrigue, which created interaction, which created transgression in the story. And it introduced us to some of the best technology which got realized maybe 30 or 50 years down the line from the time the film was made. So what all did this movie actually spell out as technology and as experiences? One, it first spoke about space exploration, right? Because this whole movie is set on moon and set in Jupiter. So you would see a large amount of space exploration because that alien monolith sits in Jupiter. For the first time, you could see space travel, which now has become a reality, right? You have SpaceX, you have Galactic, you have Blue taking you. If you have the money, you can go to space today. So space travel was introduced in 1968 as an idea. 3, there's HAL 9000, the character on the ship that takes this crew to space is an machine which is called HAL 9000. Now, HAL 9000 primarily was nothing but an AI machine. It controlled the whole ship. It controlled the behavior of the crew. And finally, you'll see that it overtook the crew and destroyed the ship. Today, we are talking about how AI can be dangerous if not directed and used in the right way. But this thought idea was presented in 68 in this film. The tablet, our prime character, Bowman, uses a tablet to communicate back to the Earth station. And that was realized, as you know, many years down the line by none other than Steve Jobs. And the video calling is also introduced in this movie in 68, which I think today we all do, using different devices and using different platforms and applications. So I connect you to how amazing ideas lead you to create wonderful experiences for your business, for your brand, and for your future of customer experience. So we believe that all design has to create very unique experiences, especially experiences where the idea, the story, the design, and the technology get integrated as a single fabric to be able to create a unified story for your business and a unified, exciting experience for your customers. So I would like to tell all of you here that experience centers and executive briefing centers is a path forward, is your passport for business. So do invest in exciting ideas, in exciting interactions and exciting experiences for your business, because they can create a roadmap that can bring you much more results, both from a perspective of your performance as well as from a perspective of your customer engagement. I'd like to showcase to you some of these great ideas that we have been able to come up with for different corporates, but I'm taking a few case studies, if you want to call it that, and trying to tie up this first part of my discussion with you of how to imagine and how to move into creation. And some of these examples that I'm picking is for a very traditional business. It's construction and engineering for India's largest company, which is L&T Construction. You know, it's headquartered in Chennai. So just to give you a peep into some of the great ideas as to how we translated their history, how we translated their achievements, how we translated their business as an experience in this center in Manapakkam called the Hark Lawson Center, which was a museum. So you see a picture down there. The below picture that you're seeing down there is actually the museum that we it was a corporate museum, so it was a traditional museum. It had large amount of posters, artifacts, and as you notice, also had large amount of awards, about 120 different awards that the business had won for different areas in different areas, from safety to quality to performance. So I'm going to show you what we did with this space through some exciting ideas. But please notice that we have a very oval structure opening up in that picture at the bottom. And that oval structure is the first idea that kind of evolved into a very exciting experience. So that's why I want you to notice that oval structure. That oval structure actually opened up from ground to the first to the second floor. This was a building that goes up from ground to first to second floor. And total floor plate is about 12,000 square feet on all the 3 floors. So the uniqueness of this building itself is it's shaped as the mast of a ship. So if you see the top picture that you look at, that's the external picture of the building. It actually is designed as the mast of the ship. Now the first experience that we kind of built upon was this fantastic showcase for the awards. We built the showcase in an oval fashion because we had that design element already existing that I showed you in the building. And we kind of thought of this idea of actually creating this contraption of design which went from ground floor up to the second floor, almost 20 feet in height, and ran in circles, in oval circles like you see here. And the physical awards were actually placed in different parts of the elevation of the circles or the oval rings. And what was more exciting, as you would notice, was our concept. The concept was the sky is the limit for our awards and achievements. So we used the ceiling of the award showcase that we designed that I just showed you to be the actual sky. And the sky was simulated using a technology called EuroSeal, which actually gives you an element of motion as well as an element of light. So we brought this concept alive by creating this element. But then the technology integration, I think, was extremely exciting. And that's what you would see in this video. The video here typically showcases the entire experience. And you'd notice the experience starts from a kiosk. And you actually pick a category and you choose an award from the kiosk. You get the details. And the automation of lighting runs all along the oval circles to the point where the award is placed in the physical display of this entire design structure, which is 20 feet. So we have about 120 awards in 8 different categories that typically comes alive within this experience of the awards and recognition zone. So this was an idea that married a great story of achievement and awards with a fantastic technology which was about touch and bringing in automation for the lighting to be able to direct the attention of the user to the award, and the entire concept coming alive with the sky coming alive on what I showed you. So this is, I hope, I made a point of how a great idea leads to a fantastic story, to a fantastic technology, and a beautiful design that is evident in this experience. Moving to my next experience, how do you showcase some of the world's best engineering and world's best expertise to build nations and to build cities? That's what L&T does. L&T builds roads, L&T builds flyovers, L&T builds metros, L&T builds airports, L&T builds stadiums, L&T builds temples, right? So we know it all. So our challenge was, how would you make this come alive? Because if I have a customer coming to L&T Manapakkam in Chennai, for me to take him around and show him this is going to be a journey of India, or maybe even a journey across India. How do I bring it all as an experience in one place, under one roof, and as a unified idea, technology, and a story? So we brought out this concept called L&T City, and the concept was based on this theme, which we said, we make things that make the world proud. Because as you know, L&T has built the world's tallest statue, and we are all proud about it. Yeah. So we cherry-picked some of their key projects across the country, both from a perspective of magnanimity as well as from a perspective of engineering excellence, and created a model like this. So what you're seeing there is actually a floor-mounted model, a miniaturized model of the actual iconic engineering and properties built by L&T across a nation or across a city. So it had roads, it had flyovers, it had ports, it had everything that L&T has designed as part of this model. That is a 25 feet model with almost a 5 feet, with almost a 2.5 feet height of each of these miniaturized exhibits of their projects. Now, how do you make this come alive as an experience? So the physical form of this model that you see on the floor came alive using a technology which we call 3D projection mapping. So we used these 3D projectors, which is mounted and hidden on the ceiling, and used the lights of those projectors with software and application to actually map each of these models, if I can call it the model. So the model that you're seeing there is actually the Grand Chola hotel in Chennai, the ITC Grand Chola, built by L&T. So how did this experience play out? Because there are three physical forms. There's a physical form, there's a technology element lighting it up based on an interaction of a wireless iPad, and you need a story to come alive because you're trying to tell the audience what is the highlights of each of these projects. So that's why we use that 2x2 video wall that you see at the back to be the canvas for the the story that we're trying to talk about from the perspective of the engineering and the excellence. I'll play out a video for you that actually demonstrates this experience from a perspective of how it actually comes alive. So when you actually see the model, it is, as you saw in my previous slide, let me just step back one. It typically is a white model, so you see everything in white. But when you activate the iPad for a specific project, the model gets the actual colors and the actual texturization of the project per se. So this is the video. Let me play it out for you. So that's the concept. It said that we make things that make the world proud, and then it comes down to, because I tapped TCS Technopark on the iPad, and that's the TCS's largest campus in Asia, which is in Chennai, built by L&T. It was inspired by a design of a butterfly. So you'd see the form and the structure typically taking the form of a butterfly. But that apart, this was the experience that I wanted to talk to you about. This is the Grand Chola. So when you see the Grand Chola on the model, it's a white model, but when you activate it for the experience for the customer, it takes the form and shape of the actual building that you would notice here. Yeah, so moving forward, how do you use data? All of us believe in the power of data. We say big data is changing things. We say data is giving us insights. But then how do you create data as an experience? So that was one of the challenges that we had, because one of L&T's businesses looks at Smart World as a solution. And Smart World is overlaying an entire layer of technology, which is smart technology, on the infrastructure that they build. So you have smart cameras, you have smart analytics, you have smart management of different resources that a city runs on, right from its water to its traffic to its light to its security management. So that being said, that being a business interest of L&T, we had this challenge of how do you translate data that is available in their campus. They have a 27-acre campus, and they have a very intelligent campus because that campus has a large amount of BMS, which is your building management system integrated with IoT. So they have IoT devices for their chillers, they have IoT devices for their air quality, they have IoT devices for their power generated. So we came up with this great idea of using data in a way that can create an experience. We did that on a 98-inch display, which was touch enabled, so that you can actually interact with the data and get to understand the data from a perspective of being able to create the right expression and impression for your customers. This was the video. I'm playing out a video which actually typically shows you how the entire data was modeled visually as an experience to show you different parameters of how this campus is smart. It starts with this cycloramic view of the whole campus and identifies the different buildings within the campus, because each of these buildings are again very uniquely designed. L&T designed these buildings to give an impression that of engineering excellence that they carry out for the world within their campus itself. So it's a 27-acre intelligent campus, and this is the interaction that happens on the data. So that's where you get to the interactive dashboard, and you can pick up cameras. So first layer of experience that we deliver is surveillance. So surveillance of the entire space, the entire campus, the different cameras that are there in the campus, we've tied it up, and you can actually view all the cameras and the smart feeds from the campus coming there. The second one is air quality. What is the air quality in the campus at any given point of time, with different parameters that you can evaluate based upon week, based upon month, based upon year data. We also have data that typically talks to you about power consumption. How much power is generated from alternate sources, how much is coming from the grid, and typically parameters of how that is getting utilized in each building, both from a perspective of their facilities as well as from a perspective of utilization. This is the chiller functioning, and then you have data from each chiller. And we also have data about rain harvesting. So typically, you go down to looking at different parameters of how you use rainwater in the campus from a perspective of what you've harvested by week, by month, by year, by day. And so the data gets represented and gets very extremely meaningful from a perspective of an experience. So if you have a lot of data and you have a lot of intelligence that's happening within your building, within your campus, within your facilities, look at how you can typically create areas of experiences that can be a point of interaction for your customers and your partners and your employees. Moving ahead, how do you create an iconic story of 87 years of history? L&T had 87 years of history. They started 87 years. It is the 88th year in business. And the idea was, how would you tell over 120 stories, milestones achieved, things that they have done as a company. So we came up with this exciting idea of using an integrated video wall, which is 1x8, 55 inches, and being able to create an extremely interactive mode of storytelling that you would notice here. So you actually have decade-wise navigation. So you start from the 50s and go down to the 2000s, and continues from 2000. So you can actually, we built a content management system that helps you to update content. So you go by decade and draw out stories by each decade. Those stories are presented by graphic, infographic, or with animation, or with video, or with voice bites, depending on the historic or the achievement that we are kind of showcasing using this technology. So touch is the point of interaction here, and we've also worked with gesture, but then when you look at larger crowds, gesture doesn't really function the way you really want it to function, but touch does. And this is multi-touch, so you can typically look at multiple interactions. How do you tell great stories and great achievements? L&T's iconic and historic projects which showcases the best of engineering. Do you put it in a square box in a 98-inch screen? No, you can't, because you're showcasing some of the best engineering work. You're showcasing some of the family jewels of the company. So you would look at technology as an expression, and when you look at technology as an expression, you would look at ways in which you could reflect both the engineering excellence of the company and the brand, and also bring about an exciting canvas for the story. So what you're seeing there is the 10 most iconic projects of L&T, which we kind of integrated as key stories, and reflected that as an expression and a form in what we call a geometric video wall. This is also called an asymmetric video wall. You would notice that we use 3 different types of screen sizes and integrate it into a shape and a form, which typically gives us the expression which can be both imaginative as well as be creative from a perspective of the story. We also use 2 story talkers You'd see the top one which identifies the project, and you'd see the right bottom one which actually identifies some of the key features of each of those projects. So I'd like to show you how this whole story plays out when it plays as a video. So this is, I think you might think that I'm a film buff. I'm going to play a small clip again from a film which is The Bridge Over River Kwai. Now why Bridge Over River Kwai is not a film that I'm playing for you, but this was a film that is demonstrated there. Because the bridge that is built over in the movie, which gets blown up in the movie, if you've seen the movie then you know that's the most critical sequence of the movie, was built by L&T. So that is the relevance of me showing you this small video clip. The story continues, but I just cut it off short. But it's a very interesting story of their history because you know, they built the bridge thinking that the bridge was not a film set bridge but an actual bridge, and realized later that it was a film set bridge and had to be blown up just for the film. And that's why the cost overrun happened, because they built it as an actual bridge. And they had to blow it some 5 or 6 times to actually bring down the bridge, because it was built as a solid bridge. So that was the story that we were talking about. But I wanted to show you the expression of the story using technology, which is an asymmetric video wall in this case. The whole interaction of these technologies happens wirelessly because we want to get in context to the interest of the customer as well as the visitor. So we are always looking at ways in which we can use technology as a means of interaction for instant communication. And this is how it works. So you take Grand Chola, you click it on, and then you see the Grand Chola coming alive on that video wall there. And talking about what makes it so special. Yeah. So moving on, if I haven't already amazed you with these ideas, then I think I'm going to take you a little ahead and take you on to a journey of some of our projects where you'd see all these 4 elements coming together, which is great ideas, a great story, wonderful technologies, and the expression of content and narratives that makes this whole experience come alive. So let me introduce you to Planet L&T. Planet L&T as a brand was visualized because they have 9 listed companies and businesses in different sectors, from financial services to reality to construction to technology, you know, Mindtree, you know, LTTS, you know, LTI. So they have 9 companies. So the whole thinking and imagination came from there to call it Planet L&T. Because we are talking about bringing 9 companies into the universe, into one universe. And this universe is in Mumbai, in Powai. It is the executive briefing center of corporate L&T, and housed in a very nice and memorable building called the A.M. Naik Towers, which is dedicated to Mr. A.M. Naik, who just retired as executive chairman. The whole experience of Planet L&T is to create a first of its kind experience for India's largest conglomerate and create an impression and expression that covers their businesses, their projects, their iconic achievements. So we've used different technologies. We've used holography, we've used projection mapping in a way that we can create 360-degree immersive spaces. We've created exhibits that are very interactive and expressive. So let me just walk you down a short video that typically showcases to you Planet L&T. You're welcome to Planet L&T by 2 robots. They are called L and T. L is the lady. She walks you in, takes you to the first point of interaction, which you're seeing there as the dome. And from there, T is actually clicking photographs, and when you exit the place, he gives you a photo handover of your visit. So from utilizing technology in a way that to create experiences is what we believe works best for brands and businesses in your EC and EBC strategy. So let me just play this video for you. You will be glad to know that we embarked on this project in just with the first lockdown. We had completed the design phase, and we executed this project in 6 months. It's 13,000 square feet, turnkey execution in 6 months, working with the first lockdown. and the second lockdown. We completed it in record 6 months. It was inaugurated last year, 2 years back, 2 years back in December. So just to give you a context of that project. Moving on, I'd like to present to you India's first and only experiential learning center for engineering. We call it experience engineering, and primarily it's a very unique project because it brings together students of engineering, civil, electrical and mechanical to understand skilling from a perspective of industry applications and to understand it from a perspective of how industry works today in these three areas, and to develop skilling talent that is integrated and that is excited enough for a career in engineering. So this is set in Coimbatore in a college called KPRIET, and one of the leading engineering colleges in Coimbatore. And what you'd see here is a large amount of showcases. We tried to bring material that is used because as students, they very rarely get to see materials, additives, chemicals that typically get used in different forms and different applications in the industry. So we've tried to bring across material, we've tried to bring across finishes, we've tried to bring across a large amount of that infrastructure here. Besides AR, VR, and a large amount of object-based recognition and the rest of it that you will see in the video that I'm playing out now. Great. So we are EDC, and we are India's leading experience design company, bringing together great ideas, concepts, technologies, content, and design. Thank you so much for your time, and I welcome you all to experience the journey of art, science, and experience for your business and for your brands. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sunil. Truly impressed, truly amazed by the experience centers that you just displayed over here. So before we wind up the session, if the audience, the delegates have any questions to ask Mr. Sunil?
Yeah, I would be glad to take it.
Yes. Any questions from the audience?
Hello?
Yeah.
Here. Hi. Thank you, Mr. Sunil, for this wonderful talk. It's actually very mesmerizing to see the experience that you built. I was actually wondering, how will this experience look maybe 10 years from now? Because technology is evolving just too fast, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's beyond imagination. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd like to take you back to 2001 Space Odyssey. So, thoughts are, I would say, if you look at technology over the last 10 years as a landscape, especially in audiovisual technologies, the projectors haven't changed. The bulbs have changed from bulbs to laser projectors today. But as a technology, projectors still remain projectors. You look at screens and you look at displays today, you typically have looked at an evolution from LCD to LED to what we are talking today about phosphorus LED. So if you look at technology, I think is just getting better because we're looking at it being more sustainable, becoming more green. But then the emphasis is more on how you use that technology to actually create an experience. We use displays, but then how can you bring a layer of experience within that display? You saw that in the asymmetric video wall. How could you make the greatest iconic projects look more iconic? So the idea was to use displays in 3 different formats, but then use it in a way that gives that creative expression. The future of technology, many of us are dabbling with the idea that you might not even need a physical space anymore. The metaverse is going to be a space where you can do, you can dabble with these ideas and experiences in a way that becomes more immersive and more expressive to your end audience. But I think it's the level of maturity and the level of comfort that people are going to work with while using HMDs. I mean, even today, an HMD experience for more than 4 or 5 minutes is going to become very taxing on your brain and on your eyes. So I would say use technology, look at technology being used from the perspective of expression rather than looking at it being used from the perspective of the technical fit. Yeah. I hope I've given you some direction, but
Thank you so
you know,
much.
things can just keep evolving.
Yes, beautifully answered, Mr. Sunil. So, to use technology as a mode of expression rather than just using it for the sake of being very tech gadgety and all that. Any more questions from the delegates? Yes, we have one more question. Can the mic please be passed on to the gentleman over there?
Sir, it is heartening to know that the 1968 movie, Stanley Kubrick movie of 2001 Odyssey, even heralded the age of moon landing.
Yeah.
So yesterday's science fiction is today's reality. Reality. That
Very
is wonderful, sir.
Very true.
It is very true. Just like a video call, or everything foretold by Stanley Kubrick.
Yes, that's right. It was actually written out by Arthur C. Clarke, but then, but visualized the way it was visualized by Stanley Kubrick. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have another movie buff in the audience. He was so excited to see the 1968 movie, 2001 A Space Odyssey, right? Yes. Any more questions? It's truly amazing how things depicted in 1968 are a reality today. So I think we are done with the questions now. Before you take a leave, sir, as a token of our love, as a token of our gratitude for coming all the way and sharing about these wonderful experience centers, we would like to hand over a small memento. Here is the president of CAFET, Mr. Abdul Ghafoor, handing over a memento. I think we can go to the center stage so that we get a really nice photo of this. Yes, the president of CAFET, Mr. Abdul Ghafoor. CAFET is one of the key stakeholders of City 2.0 and KTX. Thank you so much, Mr. Sunil Subramanian.